Hello, and welcome to episode 30 of the RetroSlot podcast. After an extended break, I'm going to let you all in on a secret. Jay didn't want to spend any more time with me. I begged and begged for 4 weeks. Please do another episode, Jay. Please, please. He's like, when I get to it. When I get to it. But we got a banger this week with Bionic Commando. We got all the news you could possibly want to know about retro video gaming. We got a special announcement for the next episode, which we're very happy to talk about. Jay, how the hell you been? It's been like a month since I seen you. Oh, great. Would you rather be sick or have your kids be sick? I'd rather be sick myself. Yeah. Little typhoid Marys. Great. Perfect. Good. Serves you right, you little fuckers. You're muted? Uh-oh. Oh, boy. How could you be muted? I can hear you. All right, this is a settings thing, so I'm gonna have to mess with OBS here for a second. Shit. That might have fixed it. Say something. There we go. Fixed it.
Hello.
Killing it.
Hey,
Who says
should we roll
stream's
it
a pain
back?
in the ass? Not this guy.
We'll tell the whole story all over again.
Yes.
He's like talking shit, and I can't rebuttal. Just like crickets.
Welcome to episode 30 of the RetroSlot podcast.
Hey, hi everyone. It's good to see you. It's been a month. Maybe Briar can cover why we were not here for the last 2 weeks.
It was definitely not my fault. That's all I got to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about
Blame the
that.
Crocs. Blame the Crocs. So for those who didn't hear, I was just explaining how it was the holidays and the kids brought home some kind of virus from school and daycare because I don't leave the house, and I got sick and they didn't at first, and then it's like cycled back around to them now. Karma has got them in the end.
They're like the rats that brought the bubonic plague to Europe.
The rats eventually get sick.
I don't know about that part. I'll have to get back to you. More research is needed.
Just need to make it up and remember no Google.
I remember
totally
when my kids were in school, I never had been so sick so frequently as when my kids were in school because they would just bring it all home. It was just it's just an infestation over there of it was like, I felt like, that's racist. I'm not going to say it. Never mind.
Oh.
Yeah, my bad. Anyhow.
Oh, no.
We got a ton to talk about. We got all sorts of stuff, like all sorts of retro news to talk about. We played Bionic Commando. We had an extended play time with it, too, because we missed an episode. So we had 4 weeks with it, which hopefully makes up for our only 1 week with Super Metroid, which I think was a crying shame.
Yeah. Can we switch the 2 games? Like, go back in time.
I don't know if I like how this is going.
Do 1 week of Bionic Commando and 4 weeks of Super Metroid.
I don't think I like how this is going.
No. I'm not saying I disliked Bionic Commando. I'm just saying, like, I felt like Super Metroid would have served better with more time.
Definitely would have. Definitely would have. That's a long game too, right? It's like it's not a long game if you know where you're going and like know what you're doing. Like if you're following a walkthrough, you can
12-hour game.
Yeah, you can easily get through it in like no time if you're following a walkthrough. But if you're experiencing it for the first time, it takes forever because there's all sorts of like hidden blocks that you just gotta randomly find. You know, so this game's not like that. Bionic Commando's not like that. It's much more straightforward.
Well, Agree and disagree. We'll talk
Oh,
more about that. It's got some weird
we're gonna
level
have a
stuff
fight. We're
happening.
gonna fight about it.
Fisticuffs.
I have been watching a television show called Yellowstone. Have you seen this television show?
I haven't. I actually heard about it. Some extended family were talking about it over Thanksgiving.
It's like it's a show about like a cattle ranch out in Montana. Montana? I think it's Montana. It starts like Kevin Costner, but what it basically is kind of like showing the lifestyle of like cowboys on like a ranch, right? And they get into all sorts of shit. They love to fight. So I've been watching that, and now I'm just in the mood. Let's get into a good old cowboy knockout drag out fight.
I would lose that fight.
Let's
Briar's got.
first we gotta get cowboy hats. We're gonna have to do some cowboy hat shopping.
I'll do that with you. But
If you get a
Briar's got
cowboy
the
hat,
size and the length on me.
are you gonna get a white one or a black one?
Brown.
Brown
Man.
cowboy hat? Interesting.
Yeah.
Bold choice. Is that like
That's
going
more
neutral?
of like an authentic. That's like an authentic farming hat. The black ones are like if you're going out on a date or something. You know, you wear
It's
like
your going to town cowboy hat.
exactly. Yes. The ones that you have.
I thought the
out
white
on
one was
farm
for
are
the
usually
good
dark
guy.
brown.
The black one was for the bad guy.
This is turning into some spy versus spy stuff here.
Yes.
I like that visual though. There are like movies, yeah, where you're gonna wear. I could see you in all white
All white, a white cowboy hat. I
and
feel
a
like I'm a
white
straw cowboy hat kind of guy.
and you'd have like a full white outfit. You'd look like
Some rhinestones.
the rhinestone cowboy. You'd look like oh no, Colonel Sanders a little bit with all white.
I'm into it. I love chicken. Sold. Get the nice little. What's that little tie called? Is that the
It's
bolo
like a
tie?
bow tie or bolo. Yeah.
I'm in. Sign me up. You been playing any other games besides Bionic Commando? Destiny, Bionic Commando. What else you been playing?
Yeah, Bionic Commando. This is not a sponsored stream, nor is it a shout out, but I am still addicted to Raid Shadow Legends.
Wait,
Fine.
people play that game?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a meme.
No, it's
It's a mobile game,
around,
right? It's on your phone.
It's around for a reason. Yeah, no, it's a mobile game. Look, this is not sponsored. I have done some sponsored stuff with them, but I have been playing for almost a year consistently, almost every day.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to get like a splash screen or something next time we talk about it. I'll splash it up on the screen.
I know it's a meme, but it's I don't know. It's kind of like Genshin in how deep it can go. You know, if you're like
I haven't
outfitting
played
all the
Genshin,
characters.
so
Oh,
I only have like
oh.
knowledge of it from other people talking about it. Watts
Yeah.
and Tefty got into it for a little bit, and they were talking about it some. And M-Tash, I watched a few of his videos about it just to kind of find out what it was, but it just did not interest me.
All right. So just like a quick synopsis, it's an AFK game. So most of the time you're like just setting a team and go. Like you can tell it to do different things, but once you get to where I'm at, most of the time it's on auto because you know what you're doing. But there's like over 600 champions and some of them are really difficult to get and you feel really good when you get them because it's like that dopamine gotcha hit, right?
Yeah.
And they all have their own special abilities and attacks and defense and like you have support champs and attack champs and all that kind of stuff. So you set up your teams for the different activities and you try to win the activities and then there's like gear that drops and then you get better gear for your champs and then they become stronger and it's like this cycle, right? It's kind of like Genshin cycle or any deep RPG like a Final Fantasy or even like a Destiny in some way where it's just, trying to get gear and all that stuff. So I'm again not trying to like sponsor or anything, just describing what the game's about. Flame me all you want on YouTube. I don't care. I
I
enjoy
will.
it, all right.
I've got a script written.
Yeah. And write the check.
Um,
Kidding. No, I actually like it. So
I got a question for you. This is a bit. It starts off as a modern gaming, but it goes into the history of gaming. I was wondering if you could help me out with this one. Are you familiar with
Maybe.
the
Term?
term? It's not. There's not a term for it. There might be a term. I just don't know about it. The phenomena in modern gaming of having to collect shit all over the place. Like everywhere you go, you have to pick shit up, right? Like trash pickups. You can't just let it go because eventually you pick up all this shit and it's going to lead to something. I'm going to give you an example. I've been playing Demon Souls. I just finished Demon Souls over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things in that game is that every corner you have to look behind because there may be something, right? It's probably not going to be important. It's not going to be like a great, awesome weapon, but it may be like a rock that you can, if you get 40 of these rocks, that can upgrade your weapon. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of a pickup. These are in every video game now, right?
Yeah.
It's like and I think it's because the developers want to give you incentive to look behind every corner, to explore the entire world that they built. It's getting kind of annoying. I was thinking it's getting kind of annoying, right? Because it's like every game wants you to look behind every corner. It's like, this is kind of time consuming. I'd rather just kind of like, move on. But if you feel like you're missing out if you don't do it. When do you think this started? Like, because I think that the first time I recognized this happening is in the Castlevania games, having to like whip the walls looking for wall meat. But
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, it's been around a long time. I mean, Super
yeah,
Metroid has some of that too.
yeah, that's true. Definitely. Yeah.
Um, it becoming more of a regular thing across all genres, I feel like has happened in the last 15 years. I mean, just as an example, like playing Lego games on the 360 with my wife, it's that kind of thing where you're like literally busting everything to get coins to like try to max out your achievements and get different characters and all that kind of thing. Um, which usually lends itself to specific types of gamers. Like I'm the kind of person who hates missing out on stuff, which is one of the reasons why I have a hard time playing games like Fallout or Oblivion, Skyrim, all those kind of games because I feel like I want to do everything, but I feel like it's
Next thing you know, you got
impossible to
like
do everything.
60 ashtrays.
Right. But I'm saying like I have a hard time with those games because I feel like I can't possibly do everything.
Yeah.
It's like it's just not possible, so then I just get overwhelmed and give up. That's why I prefer more linear experiences because if you limit my ability to like explore, then I'm more likely to get stuff done, if that makes sense. Like I need them to kind of hold my hand through it.
Sure. That
But
makes
games
sense.
that are really open, I think Dark Souls is a little bit more linear in that way too, because you have bosses to fight and things, and there's just stuff along the way, which is an experience
Yeah.
that I could probably handle. But I don't think everybody plays games like that, but as far as when it started, I mean, it started in specific genres in the beginning, I feel like, but it's just like
Yeah.
branched out to everything else more recently.
I remember RPGs used to do it. Like you'd have to
Right.
they'd really like they'd give you because that was like the
Zelda.
first like open world that you ever really explored, right? Was RPGs back in the 8-bit and
Mhm.
16-bit area. And they weren't open world in the sense of Grand Theft Auto, but they did have like big maps, like over maps. And they'd encourage you to explore that overmap to help find like a secret cave that might hold, a crystal sword. And you could totally finish the game without ever finding that, but it encouraged you to do it. But now I feel like you really like modern games really want you to look behind like every pillar in every room
Mhm.
that you go into, right? Is like or you're going to miss something. And there's so many things that you're collecting remember the like I think it was like the N64 era where like every game became a collect-a-thon. Like I think it was like
Three-dimensional
Banjo.
space.
What's that?
Three-dimensional space had a lot more stuff to
Yeah,
see.
yeah, but the main focus of the game became like collecting. Like even Mario
Mhm.
64 is like you couldn't progress unless you collected a certain amount of stars. And
Even
then there
Tony
was
Hawk.
Tony Hawk, yeah, with the letters, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I mean,
they got to put something in there.
Zelda, the original Zelda, like if you think about it, I mean, Link to the Past, I imagine the original Zeldas were kind of like this, but Link to the Past, you had to search every nook and cranny just to progress through the main story. It
That's
wasn't even
true.
necessarily side stuff, but yeah, like rupees and stuff like that to buy different pieces of equipment and bombs and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's been around for a long time. But like you said, N64 branching out into the different genres.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Anyway,
so
interesting thought
something I've been thinking about.
sidetrack.
Demon Souls was phenomenal. I highly recommend it to anybody who has a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 3.
How difficult is it on a scale of 1 to fuck this?
It's not that difficult, and
Oh,
if you are having difficulty, it's one of those games that you can easily level up and kind of grind a few levels, which doesn't take that long, and kind of become more powerful than you can overpower that game a little bit.
so it's
It's
not
not
like
that hard.
Dark Souls.
I mean, it's pre Dark Souls, right? It's like the design inspiration for Dark Souls. You can absolutely see some of the bosses are very difficult, but usually they have an exploit that you can take advantage of if you're really having trouble.
Gotcha. Cool. I know a lot of people have been enjoying that.
It is. It's a good game, and it looks phenomenal. Should we do some retro news?
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. Some big stories too. Like I tried to bookend them a little bit. Starting with Analog has finally a couple of days ago confirmed that they will start shipping the Pocket starting December 13th.
That's great news. People are really excited about this. I'm glad it's coming out for Christmas.
Yeah,
That's great
I
news.
would. It is. Merry Christmas to me.
Yeah.
You know,
It really is good
they
news.
haven't talked about the like stock or when you can purchase one if you missed out on pre-orders or anything yet. They haven't recovered that.
Yeah. Last we heard is sometime in the new year that you'll be able to just buy one off of their website, right?
Mhm. Have you heard of this 8-bit Christmas on HBO Max?
Yeah, the wife and I watched the trailer for it. She liked the look of it, and I was like, this doesn't look good to me much at all.
Really?
Yeah. Did you watch it?
I have not. I watched the trailer. You don't like Neil Patrick Harris or
I do like Neil Patrick Harris, but I was just like, it feels like they're going for like a Wonder Years kind of vibe, but like without like it feeling realistic. Does that make sense? Like it did nothing that was going on in this trailer felt like authentic to how kids might have been actually or what they were doing in the 80s. Like it was just this like and I think they addressed it a little bit. Like the kid asked Neil Patrick Harris, like, did that really happen? And he's like, oh yeah, just like that. Like so he's clearly like embellishing these stories.
Mhm.
But it's just so over the top. I don't know. Like I didn't get any laughs during the trailer. So it's supposed to be a comedy. It didn't look. It uses the NES, I think, as a MacGuffin as opposed to actually being about the NES. You know?
Yeah. I was just gonna do a quick Metacritic to see what kind of reviews it got.
Oh,
I didn't look at this before. Oh,
bring the pain.
does not have maybe Rotten Tomatoes would have something?
I don't know. Do they do Netflix shows? I don't have the foggiest idea.
Oh, it got decent scores.
What's
73%. That's solid.
73%? That's as good as Destiny.
I mean, as far as Rotten Tomato goes, that's a solid B plus movie on Rotten Tomatoes. Because not very much
That's
stuff
a
gets
C. That's a
90.
solid C.
I know, but in movie, are you okay? So I have to sidetrack us again. Are you the type of person who prefers a higher thermometer score or a higher audience score?
I don't. I guess I would go with audience score.
So if it has like a 35% thermometer but an 85% audience score, would you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
If it
don't.
had an
I don't pick my movies based on the Rotten Tomato score though. Like I don't look them up first. I look at the trailer, and if it looks interesting to me, I'll start watching it.
Well, it's a red flag if it does this. If it's like a 93% thermometer, but a 42% audience score,
That's
that's a
definitely a
red
red
flag.
flag. Yeah, that's definitely a red flag.
So, like, but if it's like 90% and 90%, like a Marvel movie or something like that, a big blockbuster, then I get excited. I'm like, "Ooh, ooh, they both like it. They're in agreement."
That is good. That is generally a good thing. I remember back when Independence Day came out, the Will Smith movie.
Mhm,
I remember Siskel and Ebert gave it a horrific review, right? And then it became
mm,
like the most popular movie in America. People
mhm.
loved it. So they were so taken aback by this. Like, how could their view of this movie be so incongruent with like the general populace who absolutely love this movie? So
Mhm.
they re-reviewed it. I remember watching that, and they're like, people just like shitty movies. Apparently, it's like
I mean, yeah, it's the effects and all that, like, it's so just out of this world, literally, so
movie reviewers. I think they lose touch with. They watch so many movies that the art of movie making becomes more appealing to them than the entertainment value of the movie itself. You know,
right.
that's why you get like that art house cinema that gets amazing reviews, but then you go and watch it, and you're like, this doesn't even make any sense to me. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
even. It's not a congruent, coherent story in any way. And I think
Mhm.
that's where that starts to come from. Is like you are now getting movies made for people who like the art of making the movie more than the movie itself.
Right.
I think they can have it in video games a little bit too, but video games have to be more. What's the right word for that? They have to be able to connect with like the common player, otherwise, because they cost so much money to make video games now.
And to your point, I mean, video games have almost like a technical script that you have to fit in order to be enjoyable, similar to probably to movies to critics, where you think about like, are the mechanics good? Like, does it feel good to play? Is the story, does it go along at a good pace? Is it like kind of leading you in a direction? Do you know what you're supposed to do? Like, there's that user interface, user experience kind of stuff to talk about too in a video game. But in a movie, it's like, is it telling us the story that the director and producer want to and the scriptwriter and all that stuff. So to them, it might be more of a process like video games is to us too.
Yeah, I
And
can't
then
think
the
of any.
general
I can think of probably if you give me like a half an hour, I could probably tell you like 10 movies that won Oscars that I thought were just ridiculously bad movies. Like,
yeah.
and I would say that most people would agree this is a bad movie, but I can't think of any video games that have been like critical darlings that weren't also good games. Right? There might not have been extremely popular, but I bet they were good.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of video games too comes down to personal preference and subjectivity.
Oh yeah,
I mean, movies
totally.
do too, but when a movie's good, it's like it's got good actors and got a good production team behind it and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I don't personally like Breath of the Wild, but it's not because I
yeah.
don't think it's a good game. It's just not my type of game.
I'm with you on that one actually. Like, there's certain aspects of it that I really like, and I really like what it did, like technically, but there's like I thought the dungeons were really hard to get through, like not because they were hard, because they were just like so boring and tedious, and like that used to be a strength for the Zelda series, and there was a lot of wandering around aimlessly, and like I liked a lot of it, but I also
Yeah,
it wasn't my favorite Zelda game by any. And other people like think it's the best Zelda game by far, and that's okay,
yeah,
man. We can think different
right,
things about that kind
exactly.
of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad game, it's just not my
Me
cup of
neither.
tea.
I hope that a lot of the ideas that came from Breath of the Wild get like kind of spread out throughout the game, like uh, like other people like kind of pick out some of the best ideas from Breath of the Wild, like like that idea of like seeing something out in the world to be able to place a marker there instead of having like a waypoint on a map or like a compass, like that kind of stuff was really cool.
Mhm.
Grips like grip fatigue and weapons like wearing out after you hit somebody 3 times with them. Not, I hope that doesn't really spread throughout the
Not my favorite thing,
industry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just the constant regrind of materials and stuff, ugh.
Anyhow, you gonna watch it? You gonna watch the movie? 8-Bit Christmas?
8-bit Christmas, yeah. I mean, we do have HBO Max right now because 'cause I'm waiting on Matrix. So we're currently watching through the Matrix series again. We just watched Matrix 1 over the weekend, which still holds up. Like,
Yeah.
it was awesome to watch again. It'd been like 15 years since I saw it last.
Have you seen the
It's
second and third one yet, or you just watched the first one?
I've seen the second, third one. I saw them in theaters a long time ago, but
Yeah.
um haven't watched them in a long time. So
I think I just read this about the Hangover movies. Is that the idea was the Hangover 2 and 3 actually like kind of besmirched the good name of the first Hangover movie, and in fact, the
Mhm.
Hangover would be thought of as a classic if the Hangover 2 and 3 never got made, right? But the second two were so poor that the first one's like seen in lower esteem. I
Wow.
think I don't know if I agree with that about the Hangover. I don't think it was that good. I thought it was pretty funny. Not like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put it as a classic. But The Matrix, I think that might have happened too. Is I think the first movie was, I think, everybody's first DVD. Like everybody just bought that movie as the first
Yeah.
DVD.
Yeah.
And then the second one and the third one come out, and then nobody talked about The Matrix anymore because like it took some of the sheen off of the the viewing experience of the first one.
Right.
Highlander comes to mind. First Highlander, amazing movie. Second Highlander comes out and everybody's like, wait a minute, what? They're aliens? What the fuck is this bullshit?
Yeah. It's always aliens, man. Everything. It's all aliens. You're an alien. I'm an alien.
I don't
I
want to
look
be an
like an alien. So now we got some smaller stories going through, but still some interesting stuff. A link to the brass, talking about Zelda a second ago. Good segue here. Um, a independent brass group created a brass rendition of literally every single track from the Link to the Past game. All of the dungeons, all of the outer world tracks, everything. It's like 30 plus tracks.
That's neat.
Um, and you can listen to it on Spotify right now. It's called A Link to the Brass by the Game Brass, and they've done a bunch of other stuff as well. And apparently, I don't know if it's available yet, but there is going to be a way for you to take this music and put it into a ROM of Link to the Past so that when you're playing it, you actually hear this music. And it's
That's
solid from
cool.
somebody who's come from a music background, at least who's been around a lot of brass. Like, it's solid. It's solid playing. It's not just like a bunch of random dudes playing trumpet in their garage.
I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
I like
I
trombones.
Wah, wah.
Why is that funny?
Trombones are always funny. It's just they just like meow, they're just like a comedy instrument. That's just how it is. I think they understand. I think they're okay with it at this point. They're just like, "Ah, whatever." Just normal people thinking trombones are silly.
Tuba. Now that's a funny instrument.
Wah. Very difficult to carry, but yes.
That's part of the humor.
Prior. Did you ever play any instruments?
I played the saxophone.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
That's right, we've talked about this. Just the normal sax or like the bass
The tenor.
tenor sax?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You still play?
Mm-mm.
Just like in high school or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright. Just I want you to pick up a sax again and just, like, bring it on the
I wouldn't
bring it
even
on the
know
sh
how to wet the reed properly.
Yeah, just lick the reed a lot, just there's a
Like,
lot of woodwind players that just really like to lick their reeds
if
a
you could
lot.
just send me your OnlyFans about wetting the reed,
Mm. Mm, 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 mm. I respect woodwind players, alright, I can't do it. I can't use my mouth like that. It's fine. The Retro Future, who's a YouTuber, did a video on the Nintendo sewing machine, which I thought was super interesting. He got and like he literally like got all this stuff and was sewing from the Nintendo sewing machine, which is a first party, actual official accessory for the Game Boy Color, which I think it was only Japan where it was released. and there's like this little pocket on the right side of the sewing Briar's face right now. He's like, "Why is this a thing?" But it is an official Nintendo accessory, and he did a video like showing it and showing the different accessories and how rare they are, and like just some of the cool patterns and things that you can do with it. It's interesting, but it's not something that I'm particularly interested in collecting. But it is one of
No.
the interesting pieces of Nintendo history that I thought was
So
kind of
it's
fun to
made
talk
by
about.
Singer, right? The sewing machine. It's just there's just an interface between the Game Boy and the sewing
Yeah, it's like
machine.
the controller. The
Yeah,
Game Boy Color's the controller. So you have a cartridge that goes in and it plugs from the Game Boy using like a link cable to the printer. And you're like telling the printer what patterns you want to do, what speed you want to do, things like that.
yeah. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, at least.
Can you hook a smartphone up to a sewing machine now? Probably, right?
I mean, why not?
It's probably an app.
Yeah, it's probably built
Probably,
into the
like,
sewing machine.
yeah,
Probably put a USB drive into the sewing machine, kind of like a printer or something. Like a,
yeah.
you know, I would
I mean, it's
imagine there's
kind of neat
probably like,
actually that you can program your sewing machine with the Game Boy.
yeah, just it's kind of like the we talked about a long time ago, the production app for Game Boy and stuff where you can like have a calendar and stuff. It's like, why? But it's fun. It's like the progression of technology never really caught on with that, but I like that they tried it.
Yeah, it came out in what 2001. It says it looks like it's got that like turn of the century kind of vibe to it too, with like the
Yeah,
the iMac
the,
kind of coloring
yeah,
that every
yeah,
fucking thing had back then.
literally everything.
Yeah, like
Game
your
Boys themselves,
stapler had it, your backpack had it, everything.
the
That's
kind of translucent colored plastic.
yeah, that's kind of neat.
Yeah,
To call it a Game Boy sewing machine, I think is kind of
kind of a
it's a sewing
misnomer.
machine
Yeah,
that can connect to a Game Boy.
yeah, sure. It's a regular sewing machine that has
Yeah,
a way to interface with Game Boy.
cool.
So you played Sega a lot. Is it Gaiares?
Yes,
Gaiares?
Gaiares,
Is that how you say it? Um,
absolutely, 100%.
I need feedback on Twitter. All right, Gaiares is getting a new physical release from Retrobit while using the original ad guide, which was a minor point to the story. There apparently there was a magazine when this originally was released. Um, they kind of did like a advertisement in probably Electronic Gaming Monthly and GamePro and stuff. I think that's why he's holding the magazine. He's got like a mullet. He looks like he's about 17 years old. Got a solid mullet going with like
It's
a
beautiful,
shadow of a mustache where he's really trying hard to grow that facial hair.
majestic, I would say.
Yeah. Looks like he's from, a late 80s, early 90s movie. And he's holding the game up and doing a number one. They got the same guy 30 years later to do the same thing, like, look the same. I just thought it
Yeah,
was kinda fun. But, you can
it's
get this.
cute, right?
Yeah, it's cute.
I
He's a
don't know.
dad now, probably. Alright,
Yeah,
and, you can get the special edition for it's only 55 bucks for the whole release, and it comes with, like, the game in a case, uh, a certificate. It comes with a T-shirt for 55 bucks, and
it
you, like,
says right on the
personalize it.
T-shirt how to say it.
Does it? Oh,
Yeah, it literally says, "Can you say Gaiares?" So that's how you say it.
oh. Guy R Us.
Yeah,
I would never have guessed.
wasn't that how you said it
Guy
the first
R
time?
Us? That sounds
Gaiares.
like a that sounds like a weird toy store for that's just a bunch of guy shit. Guys are us. Guy are us. I don't want to grow up. I'm a guys are us. There's some like nasty jokes here that I don't want to say.
Have you ever played this game? I don't think I've ever played this game.
No, it looks like a shooter though, like a no, I have to look at video.
It comes in like a real Genesis box, and it's got a reversible cover, so you can either have like the original looking cover or like a newer cover, which is kind of neat. And then it's got a slipcover on top of that. And it's an actual cartridge. Plus you get that dope ass t-shirt. I might order this.
It says how to. Yeah, you're gonna order it if you remember.
Yeah, I mean,
the game
obviously.
actually looks, holy moly,
looks good, right?
This is grittiest style, but like 16-bit.
Yeah,
It
I've
kind
never
of looks
played
like,
it.
wait, what was that shooter game that we played where it had like the parallax screen where you could like go up and down?
Thunder Force, Lightning
Thunder
Force.
It kind of looks like that.
Yeah, it does, but it's got like a story to it. There's cutscenes at least.
This looks dope.
Yeah, that you see that boss that looks kind of like Doctor Doom.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I might get this. It's only $54.99.
I know. That seems like a solid price.
Yeah,
with a shirt. If he remembers.
if we remember.
We talked about this before, the unlicensed Dune game for the Game Boy Advance that we talked about a while ago. It's on Kickstarter now.
Good.
They've already hit their goal. It's called Eland, the Crystal Wars. So it was an unreleased Dune game from, 20 years ago. And so you can pre-order that and get the cart and stuff.
Nice. They hit the goal that includes a cartridge?
I believe so. Yeah, physical copy of the game. Or you can get the digital copy of the game.
That's neat. I'm glad.
Mm-hmm. Good for them. Does not look like a fantastic game, but it's kind of a fun story. And Dune.
Yeah, Dune, that movie was cool.
Good book too, I've heard.
I've heard.
My niece is reading Dune. She took it over for Thanksgiving. I just see the book on the floor. I was like, "Are you reading this?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm almost done. Started it like 3 days ago." I was like, "Holy crap!"
They're thick books, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like 10 of them.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds like a commitment.
Like the Harry Potter series.
Oh. I decided also that I'm never going to get into a book series that's not finished again. Thank you, Game of Thrones.
Again. Oh, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. I've had it happen to me before where I'm waiting like years and years for books to come out, like to finish the story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like there are literally millions of books I could be reading that have already been written. So why am I waiting for a book that hasn't been written yet? Like, what am I doing? Just wait till he's finished with all of them, and then I can read the books at my leisure, as opposed to waiting 10 years per book. Fucking George R.R. Martin.
He's not upset about it at all. Didn't the Game of Thrones books come out after the show?
Well, yes. There's two books that are still coming. He's been promising those last ones for like literally 10 years.
The story's already written.
Poorly.
Fine.
People are really hoping that we're gonna get a good rewrite on the end of that story.
Yeah, does that happen with that story?
I don't know, man.
Oh, you
We'll
didn't read? Okay.
Well, I've read the books that have come out, but there's still 2 books that are unwritten. The series, in theory, has already kind of spoiled what's going to happen in these books, right?
I was gonna say, like, how far off the written path can he go?
Let's hope it's way the fuck far off.
I didn't watch the show, so I don't know.
Oh, well, good. Good on you.
Good. You made the right choice.
You made the right choice.
I knew before everybody else did that it was the right choice.
You have 100 unwasted hours in your belt. You can use them however you'd like. Don't waste them on Lost either.
I did watch Lost, so I watched it when it was live, though.
Same.
I
what
enjoyed
a waste
it.
of time that was.
I remember eating pizza and watching Lost once a week.
Yeah, it was appointment viewing. That was, I think Lost was on right when DVRs became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that show started off, I had to actually like watch it when it was on, and then eventually like I was able to DVR it and like forward all the commercials, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end, man, that show had just taken several jump the shark turns. Like it was. I mean, I guess it kind of jumped the shark to begin with, right? But
how high were those writers, man?
Well, the problem with that show is that the the writer strike, right? It's like the people who started that show, who theoretically had like a cohesive story, were only on for the first couple of seasons, and then the writer strike happened, and a bunch of scab writers came in and finished the show.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Polar bears? All right, so back to news. Square Enix is releasing a jazz album for Chrono Trigger, but it's only released in Japan.
Of course they are. I mean, we've been waiting for this for 20 years. Like, Square, where the fuck is our jazz album that goes along with this game?
You can listen to a few tracks on Spotify potentially. So
oh, really?
enjoy.
That's cool. This is cool. It's just kind of weird that, like, for a game that came out 25 years ago, that also there's. Isn't there rumors that they're going to do a remake of this game too?
I think it would be a hit for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly gained popularity in the last 25 years. I don't know. Square has like kind of a strange history with remakes, reissues, whatever. It's like sometimes they do a real good job, sometimes they do a real shitty job. So
it'd be a great game on the Switch.
Sure would. Did you play Chrono Trigger?
I've played a bit. I think I played like 5 or 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
I played it when I had a PSP that was jailbroken, and I had like my entire library of NES and SNES games on there.
Nice. I played it back in the day. I never did play Chrono Cross though. That's
a PS1 game.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I've heard it doesn't really have much to do with the original, so it never really interests me that much.
Yeah.
Although it's still a good game.
Yeah. They did remake Chrono Trigger for the DS as well.
Oh, that's right. They did.
Which surprisingly is like pretty tough to come by and expensive. Kind of like a Pokemon game. Coveted.
Anyways. Like Thy Neighbor's Wife?
Not my neighbor's wife.
Wait, what are you trying to say about your neighbor's wife right now?
Not a nice person.
Wow.
Speaking of the Switch, Limited Run is doing a release of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Is it still going?
Apparently.
Yeah.
It was in the news.
Yeah, it's still going. There's a bunch of stuff on Limited Run right now that they're doing. I think I'm going to pick this up. They also have Infernax, which is a new game that looks kind of like Castlevania, but like amped up the gore a lot, which is kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic for the Switch, and is it for the PC? So just for the Switch and the PC, huh? No PlayStation?
Really not.
I might pick this up.
Re-releasing Worms Armageddon, which is like a super hard to come by N64 game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're doing Crisis 2.
Yeah, they got a bunch of stuff up here right now that looks kind of good.
Yeah,
Witch and Wiz, that I think that was a game we were talking about last episode. Narita Boy, which is a retro-inspired game. They have that Gyarados that we were just talking about. There's a ton of stuff on here. It might be time for a big old limited run order.
We'll check back in to see if Briar actually makes good on his promise.
I'll tell you the secret to ordering shit from limited run is their shipping is ridiculously expensive. It's outrageous. So what you want to do is try and wait until there's like 3 or 4 things that you want and get them all in one shipment, because then you only pay the same amount of shipping for 4 games that you do for 1 game.
That's how they get you.
Dude, they fuck you on shipping.
You're saving money, Briar, by buying multiple games.
I'm just saying, it's like it's easier to justify $20 in shipping on $200 worth of games than it is for $40 worth of games, you know?
Very true. Very true.
Anyhow.
Polymega is going to release an N64 module, which at first, I was very excited about it, and then I realized, oh, right, it's software emulation.
Oof. Yeah, that's true. You have in the notes here that's only about 90% compatible with games too.
Yeah, there was like an interview with the developer on Nintendo Life that I skimmed through,
Uh-huh.
and they're not even like it's not. How can you release something that's not 100% compatible? Like they can't even play games. Yeah, you can't even play that game
Are
on
they
there.
planning on like improving that number?
That's what they said. It's not going to be 100% compatible.
Ever?
Didn't seem like it.
What the
I mean,
fuck?
ROMs aren't now, right? Still for N64
ROMs aren't.
emulators and stuff.
Oh,
You
ROM.
can't.
You can play. You can't play any game with a ROM on
No,
N64.
I'm saying the N64 emulation is not 100% accurate.
It's not.
I don't think so.
Wait, this is not accuracy. This is compatibility, which is two
Well, I
different
mean,
things. Accuracy is like how accurately are we emulating the N64.
hold on.
This is compatibility, which means we only are compatible with 90% of the library of the N64.
Let me confirm. I'm pretty sure I copied and pasted that quote, but let me
So out
confirm.
of the 10 games that were released for N64, one of them is not compatible.
Oh gosh. Hold on. What are the other quotes on there? That there's going to be no upres options, no for to HD.
hmm
And they did talk about doing a cloud gaming thing and having kind of a store available to buy different games, which kind of like a virtual console type deal. Pretty
Okay,
cool.
that is cool, but not cloud gaming. It depends on how this is implemented because there's another story that I added in at the end that I'm just going to jump into now. It's that the Epic Game Store has introduced the Antstream Arcade, which is going to be a streaming service for 1,000 retro games.
Right.
This is actually, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter.
I did.
Gavin Risbridger sent this to us. The
Mhm.
problem with this is who the fuck wants to play retro games on a streaming service because input latency is going to be like, I mean, it's going to be a ruinous experience. Like,
You would think.
you can get away with a little bit of input latency on like a 3D game, right? Because there's a little bit of latency built into the whole thing. But with like Mega Man or Mario, the slightest bit of latencies you're going to feel.
Yeah, it's super annoying for sure.
So streaming retro games to me is just it's a non-starter. I've tried it once on the PlayStation. What's the PlayStation streaming service called? PS Now.
Yeah.
I've tried to play Mega Man on there once, and I was like, "This is fucking awful."
I
It was
mean,
like it was too long a delay. The latency was just too long.
the smart way to do it would be to like stream, like just load it onto flash memory because it's not like
100%.
these
Yeah,
games are difficult or large.
they're like kilobytes in size.
Yeah,
They would
so
download and install like before you could like blink an eye.
right. They should load to flash memory and be local as far as processing and visualization, but
The Sega
it
Net had
might
it
not
right all
save on
along.
your console. Right.
Download a local copy of the game, play it, and then when you want to download another
Send
game,
it
just erase that from memory and put the new game in memory.
yeah. Send
Just
it
like
send
on
it
the
back home.
Genesis. Ahead
I
of its
found a
time,
quote.
Sega Net.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I found a quote. The question was, "Are you able to offer 100% compatibility with all N64 games?" The answer, it's unlikely that 100% of games will be supported at the launch of the EM05 Ultra module, but it will be at a minimum above 90% working great to near perfect. Over time, the amount will likely increase.
Likely increase. Like it also depends on what those games are. Like if it's Barbie's Shellfish Adventure, like all right, nobody was really gonna care. There's gonna be one person who cares. Like, oh, Barbie's
That's
Shellfish Adventure was my favorite game. If it can't emulate that, but honestly, like most people aren't gonna give a shit and never even know about Barbie's Shellfish Adventure. Maybe you
why does
get
Barbie's
Mario and Goldeneye. You know, it's probably
why does Barbie's Shellfish Adventure sound like an adult game?
I don't know what you're doing with shellfish out there, but Sounds interesting, and I'm in.
He's buying that one too. All right. Put it out, limited run. Barbie's Shellfish Adventure. Man, now I wanna know what that game would be about.
Yeah, probably Mega. It's always a little bit of, oh, hey, that's interesting, and then like, oh, wait a minute. So a little bit of the salty and the sweet with Polymega.
Salty sea, yeah. Seashells, salt. Get it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the ant stream thing first, if you don't mind.
Okay. We just did, right? It's like Epic Game Store. Like, you're gonna be able to go on there and stream over 1,000 retro games, I believe, for a fee.
And I think it was like 30. They call them coins, so I don't know how that equates to dollars. I'm guessing it's 10 coins per dollar or something. But you start with like 1,090, like a really random number. They just like give it to you. So I think if you download this from Epic, you get some credits to start with, and you can use those to get individual retro games, or you can spend $40 per year to play everything.
But you're streaming it.
Right.
It's a nice starter. Plus, they're charging money for it. It's like
People
there
say
is
that it
room
works
here.
okay, but there are some pictures in the responses of this site that showed like Chip and Dale on the cover of a game, but it just said squirrel game.
So they don't even have the licenses.
Seems a little sketch. They
Yeah.
say that they have all the licenses, but yeah.
For
Not so
squirrel
sure.
game.
Squirrel game, yes.
Oh, you got the license for a squirrel game locked up.
Mhm.
There are ways to charge for this, and there are people willing to pay money for, especially like a really good front end. What's the name of the front end I use? I always forget the name of it. It's called, hold on, I'm looking it up right now. Launchbox. I use this program called Launchbox on my PC that I pay for. I pay in fact, I pay a yearly fee because they update it, and like you start losing access to the updates. It's like $25 a year, but it's a really cool front end. You can load all your different emulators into it, and it knows where to, like, how to use those emulators, and you also can load all your ROMs into it. So it just combines all that thing into a nice, easy to use front end, right? So like, it's like a GUI for your ROMs, which
Yeah.
it can be a nightmare. You like using all the different emulators. Like, you got one emulator for these games, different emulator for those games. And this is just, here's a list of all your games. Click on it and start playing it. You know what I'm saying? And it even has like an attract mode, so it'll just start playing like games on its own. So you can have them like kind of, just like in almost like a carousel, like where it's just like showing you some of the games, like, and like you'd be like, oh, I've never even seen that game before, and just like hit the space bar or press on a button, you can start playing it, like stuff like that. There's room for that. But that's all loaded onto my PC. They're not actually charging me for the games. They're charging me for like the, like the cool front end, like this kind of thing with Antstream. I don't know. It seems to me like it's a no starter right off the bat. Like, first of all, I don't want to stream retro games that have all that latency. Second of all, I don't want to pay you to do it because it's the worst experience that I can get for free.
Which you're describing the UI of this what, Jumpbox? Is that what it's called?
Launchbox.
Launchbox. Which I think is incredibly ironic. To me, the idea of emulation when I was a teenager was that I could get all these games for free, and you're
Right.
paying for the right for that. Like, I understand it, but it finds some irony in that you're paying for the ROM experience. But I'm
Yeah,
hoping that the analog UI does the similar stuff with their library, to be honest.
I am too. I'm hoping that, and I hope that becomes like a standard feature in future analog products as well. We'll see. I want to go back to the Pocket a little bit. It's like, man, I got like high hopes for the Pocket, but man, like the day after, when we go to the forums and we look at what like the unofficial cores are, and then what developers, because there are, this thing is open for outside development, like for other people to develop cores for it. I just don't know how motivated those people are going to be. Like, if you're like, say, a Mr. developer and you've been working on like Genesis or NES cores for the Mr., are you going to be like motivated to port those cores over to the Mister, or you're like fuck analog? I don't even know. It's like there's a lot of fuck analog mentality in like the retro
Really
games. Yeah.
interesting.
I don't know. It's a cool device, but is it going to play more than just portable games? Because I like portable games, but it'd be awesome if I could play, a lot more like Genesis, Neo Geo, SNES,
I mean, it
like
would be
those kinds.
weird if it didn't exist, in my opinion. Even though it's not what I'm going to use it for, it'd be weird if it didn't exist. I feel like.
Yeah, because this thing could really be a hell of a machine. Because being able to plug it into a TV or have it on the go, like it really could be like your all-in-one emulation device.
Yeah,
And they make high
it's
quality stuff. They
yeah,
really do.
it's I feel like it's what we always would envision the Switch of being when they announced it, as far as like virtual console stuff, like the stuff that
Yeah.
Nintendo's missing out on because of licensing and all that kind of stuff. That is a whole experience. But yeah. So one last piece of news, and it's a doozy, and I literally put this in the news this morning. I don't know exactly when they did this, but WADA announces and releases population reports. So there was all of this stink around WADA and heritage auctions about like why are the population reports, like some of the stuff is super expensive because we don't know how many have been graded and all that kind of stuff. So WADA is committed to releasing population reports for all systems, but they started with the NES, which is like because it's the most notable right now. Um, so you can go right now on WADA and there's like front page news population report, and you can click it and you can search for any game. You can see generally it's broken down to sealed, complete in box, or cart. And then you can literally click on the title and it can show you the different variants of each game and what variants have been graded in what condition. For example, my Matt my Matt Mario Brothers complete in box, there are 27 graded matte boxes that they've done of any condition. There are 8 7.0s, and there are only 2 out of the 27 that are higher grade. One is a 9.0 and the other's a 9.6, which is insane to me. So
But
yeah,
this is only games that have come through them for grading.
WADA,
Okay.
correct. So it doesn't count VGA or I think there's another grading service that's getting started up for games too.
How confident are we that they are actually reporting these honestly?
I mean, it would be kind of a fuck all. Like some of these numbers seem realistic, like sealed copies, for example, of of like Super Mario Brothers. They say that 237 copies have been graded sealed of Super Mario 3, which seems like a reasonable number to me. And as far as like, I don't know, it's hard. Like, how do you confirm?
Yeah.
I feel like they could get into serious trouble putting out fake numbers. Like that would be a huge no-no.
I feel like they should be in serious trouble for the shit they've already been caught doing.
True. True. They were saying that they're going to try to have live numbers updating like live whenever they get stuff
Mm.
almost daily.
I don't know. Maybe this is them attempting to gain some of that trust back that they've lost over the last few
Mhm.
months.
That's good. That's what one can hope for. Because to be honest, like I only have 2 graded games in my collection. I've been collecting for 10 years. I have 2. We were talking about one right before the show, Gunnack. This is a VGA copy that I bought, and the only reason I bought it was because they were selling it for CIB price, uh, an 85 silver sealed. I got it for like that's the only reason I bought it. And then I sent in mine to WADA. I prefer WADA's grading system and the way that it looks. It's more clear. It's on a scale of 10 as opposed to like 80, 85, 90. It's weird to me. And I prefer like WADA, I think currently is the only one that you can get CIB graded. I think VGA is working on it, but other than the price and all the drama and shitty things that are happening right now, I hope that somehow they can rebuild relationships to collectors in the industry so that because I mean, I have other stuff I want to send in, and I don't really want to send it into VGA, but I'm just kind of in a holding pattern with
Yeah.
everything right now. I don't want to like feed into it, but it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, other companies have had shady starts and gone on to be legitimate. So
So,
maybe Wada will be one of those.
I don't know. I hope so. 157, just I mean, just some notable numbers here. Like 157 graded sealed Super Mario Brothers, the original. Only one glossy sticker seal at a 9.4. I think that might have been the one that sold for 2 million potentially, which would make sense if there's only one. But like nobody knew that before it sold. Anyways, I thought it was interesting and it's some pretty big news in the industry and stuff. I'm curious if Carl Jobst is going to do another video regarding this kind of as an update. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. That video got a lot of play around the internet.
Mhm. Yeah, even on like game collecting Reddits and stuff, they were referencing that. Still,
Yeah.
like, trying to tell people, like, "Yeah, don't send stuff into WADA because 'cause they're scammy and all this stuff." It's interesting.
Yeah. That was a pretty damning video.
Yeah. Bionic Commando.
Zip. How did it feel when you first booted up this game? How did it feel not to have a jump button, but to have the bionic arm instead?
It took me a while to get back into it, to be honest,
Yeah.
because there's a couple of times where you're like, "It'd be really nice to jump here, to
Yeah.
jump on these boxes," but you can't. You have to back up and go at a 45-degree angle to get up on this box.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty forgiving. Like it allows you to like swing through stuff a lot of the time. So like for instance, like the barrels, like if you got to get on top of a barrel, you can swing through it from beneath and just kind of like pop up and like land on it. Anyway, Bionic
Right.
Commando NES game came out, I think, fairly early in the NES life cycle. Do you have a release date for this one? Do you know when it came out?
88.
88. So not that
It's like
early.
yeah, no, the middle.
Yeah. And the main gimmick is you don't it's Contra, but you don't have a jump button, you have a grappling hook instead. But it turns out that grappling hook is pretty interesting, right? Is they did a really good job designing levels around grappling hooks, and one of the things about this game is it just feels good to swing around. Like it's just
Mhm.
fun to do that thing that the game does. What'd you think about it? Like, what'd you think about that grappling hook mechanic? Did you miss you missed having a jump button, but did you like having the grappling hook?
Yeah, I mean, I at a certain point you stop missing the jump button and you just really try to perfect the grappling because there's really a lot of things you can do with it just from the get go. There's no like it'd be interesting if there was upgrades to the grappling hook, but there's not, and you don't need there to be because you can do everything, but you don't learn some of the tricks until later.
Yeah,
I feel like some of the because some of the levels are designed in a way where early on you don't really need to worry about it, but later on, like you might need to like cut off the arm to kind of float onto something to make sure that you're not getting in the way of an enemy or something like that. And you learn those as you go, which it empowers you to use this simple tool that's like easy to use but hard to master.
yeah,
And I kind of like that mechanic. I didn't finish the game. Briar did, but the reason that I didn't finish, I ended up starting the game over, I think, like 4 times, and I can talk more about that in a second, but, um, it took me a while to figure out what the optimal path was as far as levels go,
yeah.
because
So
that
real
was
quick, there is like a map, and you have to figure
yeah,
out like where to go. But also, there's items on the map that you have to get. Or I'm sorry, there's not items on the map. There's items on certain levels that you have to get to progress. But you
mhm,
don't necessarily know that your first time through.
right, and then there's trucks, kinda like the Hammer Bros in Mario 3 that are kind of floating between some of the levels, and if you run into them, you have to do an overhead kind of a top-down view. It's like a quick little thing, But I didn't realize until, my last playthrough that you want to target those trucks because that's how you get continues. And if you don't have continues, you die and it's game over.
Yeah.
So some of the advice that I learned later, like, because I try to go into these games completely fresh and blind without knowing anything. So I boot in the game and I just go and just try to get that visceral old school experience of like, what was this game on a first playthrough? Like, apparently, I had never played the original NES game. I think I had played the Game Boy game because
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't recognize any of it. Like, it did not look familiar. And then I booted up the Game Boy game and I was like, oh, this is what I remember playing, which is interesting to me. So kind of playing the NES version for the first time, which they're very close. They're very similar, the Game Boy
Yeah,
and
I think
NES.
I think the Game Boy version actually is thought of as kind of like a better version of the game. Actually, it's
Yeah.
like they took the NES version and improved upon it for the Game Boy version.
Yeah, it's very, but it's like similar level design. It's not like they didn't change stuff around or anything as far as levels. But as I was going through and learning, when I first played through it, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But like you really have to like go around in order to make that happen. And I was just getting to parts where I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I feel like I'm in the end game now,
Yeah,
and it took a while to realize that you want to go like what was it? 115 and then
I
like
looked up a guide. Like, okay,
yeah, it
I
right.
I, I did so I played this game when it was new when I was a kid, and like I did it naturally, but who's got time for that right now, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if this is gonna be the only game I play for a month, like that's one thing, but like I wanted to get through it because I wanted to kill Hitler. So I looked up a guide, and there's like an optimal path that you can follow. Which isn't that difficult. It's not till like the very late levels where the game gets tricky. I wouldn't say like real difficult, but it gets tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, but so I once we figured out the optimal path, I got to like the bottom of the middle part. So it
Yeah,
was like level 6, but like the correct way.
yeah.
And I was going solid. I had beat a couple of Contra style bosses, or I think 3 of them. And I was like, "Oh, I can't remember if analog has save states."
Oh
And
no.
I went to the menu screen and there was no way to get back to where I was in the game and it
Oh,
restarted. I was like, "All right, I'm done."
oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, I had played for a good handful of hours and I just
Yeah,
like at that point it was I was frustrated and I was like, "All right, well, I'm not going to start over again." Like I
yeah.
don't
That's sad. This game. What I like about this game is it really feels like you're on a grand adventure. Like it starts off feeling like kind of like this kind of generic military. It's funny too because if you look at the box art, I'm prepared to show the box art on this game. If you look in the little window up there, I have this is what you look like in the box art. Okay, you're like this kind of blonde-haired guy in kind of this futuristic outfit with red pants and a blue vest. Yeah, there it is. Jay's got it there too. But when you get in the game, you're this guy. You have a green army suit on. You have red spiky hair. Like you look nothing like, which I guess isn't that uncommon for NES games, but it was a little jarring. Anyhow, it starts out as kind of like this kind of generic feeling military game, not unlike like a Contra or something, right? Is they have this kind of like weird story that starts off with like your companion Super Joe is lost and you're out to save him, but then it like escalates to the point where you're literally like up against the reincarnation of Hitler, and you kill Hitler. Like his head explodes at the end of this game. It's pretty fucking wild. Like
Yeah.
if you've never watched the end of this game, you can check it out on YouTube, but it's pretty crazy. It's really fun too. Like the whole thing just kind of escalates, and there's all these like little areas where you got to like communicate with your team, but you could also you can intercept communications from the bad guys, and like it starts getting like weirder and weirder as you go. But it kind of feels like natural too. And then the gameplay starts off, it's just basic. You've got a gun and you got your swing arm. and you start swinging on stuff, and you start learning how to like, okay, I can swing off of this, and then in midair like latch onto that and keep swinging. And by the end of the game, you are like you're doing all sorts of shit with the swing arm, man. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, you gotta like grab onto this, like go. You gotta really maneuver it, but it's all. It never gets crazy. It never gets unfair. And then you can also upgrade things like your weapons and your shoes and like the regular like NES style stuff. It's a cool ass game, and it really feels like an adventure. And it's not that difficult. It's not like NES hard, I would say. It's not like crazy ass difficult. It's definitely doable if you just put a little time into it. A save feature, though, it is kind of longish for an NES game. So save feature, it sucks that the analog didn't work for you there.
Does analog NES have save states?
I believe it does.
I gotta
think it
figure
does.
that out.
Yeah.
I had
wonder
been
if
playing
it's
for a
an
handful of
upgrade,
hours,
though.
and I was tired, and I just wanted to like table it and pick
Yeah.
it back up, and I was like, crap. But to your point, you were talking about the Nazis. In Japan, they're
Yeah.
literally called the Nazis, and there's like Third Reich imagery and stuff in the game, and of course, America took it out.
Yeah.
Um, in the manual, they're called the NAZ,
Mm-hmm.
NAZZ,
Very
NAZ.
deceptive. I see
Yeah,
what you did there.
yeah. In the game, they're called the BADS, BADDS,
Yeah.
and what is it? Master D is the final boss in the game instead of
Yeah.
Hitler. He
Yeah.
was a
It's Hitler.
Master D. He was a major Master D. So
Yeah, he was a master dick. I mean, he's even like he is so clearly Hitler. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
even as
no,
a kid, I
absolutely.
recognized. Hey, wait a minute, that's fucking Hitler.
Hey, wait a minute.
I see what you're doing here.
This
It
game
was a lot
didn't
of
snow?
fun. I love
Yeah.
this game. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Partly just because of nostalgia, because I think it was the first game I beat as a kid.
Wow.
I think I beat it. Like it was one of those games where I rented like for like a week straight and just kind of like kept going after it and finally beat it. But to go back to it as an adult, when I first got a Retron 5, it was one of the first games that I got because it's a common game too. It's not a rare game.
Yeah. Right.
Unfortunately, the Game Boy game is a little harder to find.
Yes.
There's also a Game Boy Color game, which is I think it's called Bionic Commando Elite Force. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not as good. Unfortunately,
It
I
got
have
solid
that.
reviews. I checked all because there's what six or seven games that were released or re-released,
Oh yeah,
and
that's true.
all of them got good to solid reviews except for Bionic Commando Rearmed 2,
That one's pretty recent, right? That came out a few years ago for the PlayStation.
2011, 10 years ago.
So is that PlayStation 3?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so there's Rearmed, which got great reviews, and then Rearmed 2, for some reason, people didn't like as much.
Yeah, Rearmed is a remake of this game.
Yeah, and it's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
I own that on the PlayStation 3. I should break out the PlayStation 3 and play that. And then there's that weird Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era Bionic Commando. Like it's like a modern.
Person, yeah.
Is it first person? I think it's third person, but
Or I mean like 3D third person, yeah.
it's like a Kojima-esque story where the arm is like your wife reincarnated or something. It's fucking yeah, that's bizarre.
That
Bizarre.
got solid reviews though too. Like we're talking 7s, 8s, solid. But there hasn't been a Bionic Commando game in 10 years. Interesting.
Well, it's time. I mean, to me, it works best as a 2D game. Like I think I thought Rearmed was great. I never played Rearmed 2, but I thought Rearmed was great. I loved like another game, in that style because it's just a fun.
They did it. If they did it like Metroid Dread, kind of.
That would be amazing. But
I mean,
did
that's
you ever
basically
play Metroid Dread? Have you played Metroid Dread?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, that's basically what Rearmed looks like. If you go back and watch it, it's almost exactly what that looks like, to be honest.
Yeah, you're good point. Rearmed was
So,
good.
yeah.
It probably still looked good because I bet it ran at 720p, right? So it'd probably still look good. can't imagine there were performance issues. I don't know. I don't remember it that well. I remember playing it, but I don't remember it that well.
I have not played them. This game didn't sell very well in Japan, which is interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, it is an American like military protagonist, so I can understand that. His name that Briar touched on was Super Joe, which is actually in a couple of other games, Commando and Mercs, which
That's
Mercs is a
not this
Genesis
dude's
game.
name. That's the dude he's saving.
Right.
This dude's name is like Rad Spencer or something.
Really?
Yeah. Super Joe. So the mission is this guy is going to save Super Joe, who's like America's superhero. And I think the main character's name is Rad Spencer. Something like that. I might
I
be
believe
off.
you. I believe you. I'm like wanting to bust out the manual here. But it is one of those like in the manual it says I think it says like Captain Commando wants you or something like that. Like it's one of those NES games that does that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, there's
Um
cutscenes in this game. There's like an intro in this game. It's a pretty sophisticated NES game.
yeah, for sure.
I like this game. It's one of my favorites for the NES. It's one of the ones I always go back to. I get nostalgia just from playing it, from being a kid. One of the things I don't like about it is it starts a little slow. It's like you have to kind of go through to all those radio towers and always keep
Yeah.
unlocking those. And the boss fights are a little lackluster, especially at the beginning of the game. You know, it's not a perfect game by any means, but it's fun.
See if I can muster up the like want to go back and play it. I was surprised that this is not on like Nintendo Switch Online or something.
Yeah, it'd be a good one. I don't know. What's Capcom like about? Do they have a lot of games on there on the online
I don't think
service?
so. I think it might be a licensing issue.
Might be. Capcom wants to sell their own.
I think this
Sell
was
their
in
own.
a Capcom Classics re-release as well at some point.
It makes sense.
I don't
There's
remember
also
what
an
system.
arcade game, a Bionic
Right.
Commando arcade game, which
That's what
isn't
this is
good.
based on.
Yeah, but
And
it's not good though.
the logo
Don't
that you
play
have
it.
on screen right now is the same one from the arcade game. That's where that
Okay.
weird, like, kind of retro 70s, 80s vibe logo came from, which is way different than the box, which I thought was
Yeah,
interesting.
I like the in-game logo better.
Yeah.
I like the box, but I like the. It's not one of my favorite boxes. It's not totally. It's not as cool as. Was that game Totally Rad? Was that the name of the game?
Totally red. Yeah, the
Yeah,
yellow
it's
the
not
monster.
that cool.
It's not totally rad. So when you beat it, did you have all 9 life points and stuff?
No.
No.
I had
Because you got it.
the
Apparently, you have
walkthrough
like
amount of number.
300 bullets to get that.
That's a lot of bullets, man.
Yeah. You do not get the bullets that often.
No, you start off getting them pretty often, but it slows down.
Yeah.
Should we go through some retro game pickups?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Let's do it, man.
Did you get any?
Let's see them. No,
Oh,
I have to be honest. I have been working so much.
yeah.
I've just been like head to the grindstone. It's like no.
So
I'm
this is
looking
a
forward to seeing
month's
this.
worth of pickups. This is the
All
first
right.
time we've gone a month, and I was back on the wagon of eBay. I'm trying to fall off again, but I feel like people are getting out of the pandemic like buying craze, and they're all starting to sell all their stuff now.
That's probably good
So
news. One
yeah,
would think
I
prices
mean
would go down if that
I mean
happens.
they're starting to level off, and for a lot of stuff they're coming down for sure. So like Pokemon
Good.
stuff, a lot of the newer generation stuff, but the older stuff, NES, SNES, still going up. So I'm gonna kind of build into the doozies at the end.
Okay.
Um, I got a lot of just like 6 Game Boy boxes for basically $5 each, and these are in really good shape. They're cheapy games. I should probably turn these around. Can't really read them. So Bo Jackson, football, double dribble 5-on-5, NFL football, regular football, Roger Clemens, MVP, baseball, and
Wait, the
Tecmo
game is
Bowl. So
called regular football.
It's just it's just literally football. It's play action football.
But yeah, it'd be
But I
awesome if
mean,
they just said it's like what's that soccer franchise? It's like Simply Soccer or something like that.
oh really? I haven't heard of it.
Regular football.
But just as an example, like these are like really good shaped boxes.
Yeah.
So, and I know that they're not very valuable games, but I just like boxes and they're all super minty. I was like $5 each, sure.
Wow.
Can't really go wrong. All right. I got a big old lot of stuff
What the heck
too,
is that? Is
like
it Game Genie for the? What's
Game
that
Boy,
for? That's for a
regular
Game
Game Boy.
Boy. It's the
Yeah,
same
look at this.
size as a Game Boy. That thing's huge. Is that? I hope it's for an original Game Boy at least.
Yeah, original
DMG.
OG Game Boy. Yes.
Ooh, it's got work. Okay, somebody wrote on that. Who used to own that?
Chris E.
Chris E. Chris E. If this is your Game Genie, let us know. Your handwriting sucks, Chris.
When you were in 3rd grade. Fine. Hold this up here so I don't have to bend over. There was some like Game Boy, like a whole bunch of Game Boy games. I didn't bring all of them on because a bunch of them were just kind of cheapies, like $1, $2. But these are some of the more interesting Game Boy titles that came with the Game Genie. Same Chris, Micro Machines for Game Boy,
Oh, that's a classic.
Monster Truck.
Don't
for
you feel
Game
like the
Boy.
Micro Machines franchise could make a comeback? I feel it's with modern
That-
3D graphics. I could do a cool Micro Machine game now.
Isometric. Do you think isometric racing would fare well now?
No, but I think they could do like a similar aesthetic, but like with 3D.
Well, they did the Hot Wheels game that just came out.
Yeah, that
actually
just
got
came out
really
to good reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever
So
play
probably
the
that style.
Forza 4 Lego edition, where it was you're playing Forza 4 but with Legos in like a Lego world? That was cool.
Is Micro Machines even a franchise anymore? Do they still make stuff?
Somebody
Boys?
probably owns it. I don't know that they're still actively using it.
I've
But
not heard
somebody
of
must
Micro
own it.
Machines in a while.
Who owned that? Like Hasbro or Galoob or
You would think it would be on the game. It just says Ocean.
Ocean? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because that was based off of like a toy franchise, Micro
Right.
Machines.
You would think it would be like Hasbro or somebody. No.
Yeah. Mattel.
Lemmings for Game Boy,
No kidding.
which I feel like would be kind of hard to play. Another Ocean game. And then Chase HQ for Game Boy Color. Little racing game. Anyways, those were I thought those were interesting, so I pulled those out.
Those Chase
Um,
HQ games were fun. I like those.
Yeah.
This is like a different take on a racing game. It's more like a pursuit game.
So kind of
Also,
like a Need
like
for Speed
Porsches.
type deal.
Yeah. Hot pursuit.
I didn't realize how many racing games I got actually. Scars for the N64,
I don't
which
know
is
that
like
one at all.
a racing battle game. If you watch the video, the car is half the size of the screen.
Oh,
It's
okay.
huge. But it's a well-reviewed N64 racing battle game. You're racing, think like Mario Kart, but with cars, and you have like attacks and different power-ups and stuff you can use.
I gotta look this up.
Get good reviews. And speaking of isometric racing, Super Off-Road for the NES.
Oh, that's a classic.
That's the one that we
NES.
all
Look at
played
that
in the arcade.
box. Boy, that box doesn't look familiar to me at all.
But if you look at the gameplay, this is basically the arcade one, I think. Who didn't play, you go to an arcade and you see that big machine with the 4 steering wheels and the
That was a
pedals
fun as
that
hell
didn't-
game.
Yeah.
It was fun though on home consoles too. I don't think I ever played the NES version, but I owned the Genesis version, and I really liked it. It was fun.
Yeah.
Like I just spent
'cause there's-
hours racing around.
There's all the upgrades and everything to all the stuff to make you better, and
Yeah, I gotta tell you, this
progression-
Scars game looks terrible.
it got good reviews.
Yeah, but good reviews for the N64.
All right. All right.
I feel like the reviewers are throwing the Nintendo fans some bones back in the day. game looks awful. Is this a car? It looks like an insect or something.
Huge, right? It's
It
giant.
is big, but this N64 it's got a rough path. It just doesn't look
I
good anymore.
I first heard of it from, I think, Metal Jesus Rocks, actually, a
Yeah,
long time ago,
he
and I had just
loves
recently.
racing games.
Yeah. Um, he said it was a good game too, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll trust him. I went to the retro game store over the weekend and they had this. This was one of my retro game store pickups. MK2 for Game Boy.
Wow,
Look at
black and
these
white. Yeah,
graphics, dude.
yeah.
This game I don't think played well on the Game Boy at all.
No, kind of
I don't
amazing
think
they were
so.
able to make that happen at all.
You see Toasty on the bottom left there?
Yeah, do you see that?
Toasty.
Toasty.
All right. One of my favorite games that I think we should do in not too terribly long.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a
Blast
classic.
Blaster Master on the NES.
I own that one.
Yeah. It's a serious
Have you been
game.
playing the recent ones? That they're still making Blaster Master games, right?
I did not realize that.
There's like I think the third one just came out. Like there's Blaster Master. There's a subtitle, but there's new games that just came out for the Switch. Like three,
Interesting.
three of them.
I'll
They're
have
good.
to look into them. I will have to look into them. I started dabbling in Mercari now.
What's that? I'm not familiar with this word.
It's another selling platform, kind of like eBay, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
a little bit more personal. Uh,
What's
I'd
that
looked
mean?
on there before and couldn't find anything, but more recently I've been taking it more seriously and I found some things. Golf for the NES,
Hey,
and guess why I bought it?
because Mario's on the cover. Oh, look at that! There's a seal.
Sticker seal.
Yeah. So that's
Not in good shape, but anytime I can get a sticker seal game, regardless of, I mean, the rest of the box is in good shape. It's just that some kid ripped off the top.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a second print because it's got the shiny sticker. Guess how they shipped this, Briar?
In an envelope.
Yep, in a bubble mailer
Uh,
without the plastic case. And I had messaged them before they shipped it, asking them, please ship it in a box with proper packaging. And I hit them up after. I was like, so what happened to the box? They're like, oh, I didn't see it. Even though literally the response said, I'll make sure to take great care in shipping the game. And they're like, is it damaged? I'm like, well, a little, but it's not like majorly damaged. So I couldn't really make a big stink. So I gave them a 4 out of 5 star review and was honest. And he hit me back with a 4 out of 5 star buy review. I was like, "That's just petty.
yeah.
Like, you gave me 4 out of 5 stars, I give you 4 out of 5 stars." Just for anybody watching, never ship a cardboard box game in a bubble mailer. Please. Please. On the Okay, so I actually got this not that long ago as a cart, but I ended up getting a complete copy because I could not get it. So, another racing game, we
Oh,
talked
hell
about
yeah.
this not that long ago, Rock and Roll Racing for the SNES, but now I have a complete copy
Yeah.
in good shape. So then I ended up trading in the card only copy to the retro game store for credit. Basically what I paid for it. I was happy with that.
That game was made
Uh,
by uh, the
Interplay.
company that went on to become Blizzard,
Yay. Blizzard.
which is not as fun a fact as it used to be.
I was like, they're in the news, but not in a good way right now. All right, so now we're getting into the serious stuff. We'll start with this one. So I got 2 games from the same, actually, no, so okay. No, these 3 games are all from the same seller, but at different points. So Swamp Thing for the NES,
Wow. That's a
which is a
great
pretty
label.
it's a great label and it's expensive, but it is fucking god awful.
Is it? Just
So
like the movie.
of the 4 games that I'm gonna show you guys, like 2 out of 10s, 1 out of 10 in reviews that I saw, like, it is just abysmal, terrible, but the price was right. Um, I
Oh
literally
yeah,
just got a couple of these in the mail.
this looks like an Atari game.
It's bad. So, I already owned this game, but now I have a complete copy, Jetsons for the NES.
Hmm.
This is a heavy hitter. The guy it's the same guy from Swamp Thing in another game that I'm gonna show you guys in a minute. But, I already owned the cart of this in good shape. So, this was just the cart in the box, and I took the cart to the game store and got, like, 100% of the value of the game in credit, just the game. And so, basically, it made the box that I paid for, like, 35 bucks, which for this box is insane because it goes for 10 times that. And they also had the game store happened to have the manual there in really, really, really rough shape. Like, it's one of those manuals that probably was from a game store. Uh, doesn't have a back cover and whatnot, but I was like, these things go for like 200 bucks in decent
Wow.
conditions. So I just wanted to complete it. I can always upgrade it later, but I have now technically a complete copy of this game, which I'm stoked about. Which it's a weird game. I watched some video on it and um you get to play as the different characters, Elroy, Jane, Judy, Astro, Rosie, I think, and they all have like different abilities. Like George has this like jetpack thing that kind of floats you like Yoshi a bit and whatnot. Looked, but it seems like a fun game to play. Kind of want to check it out. All right, now for the two heavy, 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 heavy hitters. So I took a bunch of stuff to the retro game store, and I always like to give this as a caveat. I got this game with credit of a bunch of stuff that I took in, but they've had this on the shelf for a month and a half, and I was surprised that they still had it there. Harvest Moon, complete in box,
Oh,
mint. The cart and all the inserts are like some of the best I've ever seen in any SNES game. And the funny story is, it has the registration card in it too. And some woman named Betty filled out
Betty.
all of her information and left the card in here.
Betty, you didn't send it in.
Didn't send it in. It's still in the box. And it got to a conversation about, retro stuff and finding receipts in old boxes and stuff is always fun for me. And then I literally go over to get Mortal Kombat and the receipt from Toys R Us is in here from 98.
No kidding.
I don't yeah. I like that part of nostalgia and history and just the remembering of all that stuff. But um
I like getting the manuals because I like to see if anybody wrote anything in the notes section.
yeah. I would rather have a receipt than writing in the notes section, but I can understand why you would like that.
Yeah, it
There's
makes
like
sense.
secrets. Do you want to see the price tag on this?
No, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted because my mother keeps calling me, and it's like
Oh,
weird for her to call at this time of night. So I'm texting her like while we're doing the podcast, which
okay. Make sure
I don't
everything's
like to
okay.
do. But
I'm almost done. I have one more
we're
game
good.
after this, but I'll
She
show
just
you the
texted me
price
back.
tag.
Everything's fine.
I'll show you the price tag.
Whoa, moly moly!
So I got it for 10% off, plus I used credit, and it goes for more than that in this condition.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that
So
was anybody audio listeners. That was $8.99, not $8,
$8.99.
$899, $899.
Yeah. Which is a market-ish price for that. Now, this last game is from the Jetsons and Swamp Thing seller, and this is something that I've been looking at for a long time. And it's they had it at the game store. Okay, so the Swamp Thing, I missed out on the game at the game store because they had it for 150 bucks at one point, but somebody snagged it before I was able to, and now it's going for double that. So I got this for the price that I wanted to get it at a long time ago, which I'm happy about. But this one, they had at the game store for $599 2 years ago, and I passed on it, and now it's going for double that.
Oh,
And I, yeah, so I was given an offer I couldn't refuse on this to go along with the other two games. I'm just gonna show it. Panic Restaurant for the NES is now in my collection, and the label is really good.
I have never
It
heard of
is
this game.
This is a top 3 grail for the NES.
Really?
So it goes Little Samson, Flintstones on Dino Peak, Panic Restaurant,
No kidding. I have
and
never
it's
even
a
heard of it.
good game. Like,
Is
it's a
it?
solid game. It's not just one of those, like, awful games. Harvest Moon's also a really good game,
Yeah.
farming simulator game. So this is like a platformer a la Felix the Cat or,
Yeah.
like a Super Mario Brothers 3 type game. But, like, my stomach is sinking. This literally came in the mail 30 minutes before the show started.
Oh, really?
So I
A big
haven't
relief to
had a
get it
chance
safe.
to I haven't had a chance to open it up and check the board, but at first glance, it looks legitimate. I can usually tell if the label's not legitimate, and it
Yeah.
looks legitimate to me. Same with Swamp
So this
Thing
is a
and the
top 3
Jetson.
find. How much does it cost? How much is it worth?
It's in this condition going for a grand or more,
Oh, wow.
and I got it for much less than that, and
That's
it was
good.
a situation much like I picked up Little Samson 2 years ago for a low price, and it was like 2/3 of what it was going for then, and now it's going for 3 times what I paid for it
No.
2 years. So, like, it's gonna be a similar situation to this where it's reaching astronomical heights right now, and I don't necessarily like the fact that it's super valuable. I just like that it's a top grail of the system. So if this was number 3 and all the prices were without a 0, I would still be, like, shaking holding this thing.
And you still you have Little Samson, so do you have the Jetsons game? What Jetson game was it?
I now the top, what, 15 or 20 games of the NES, I'm missing 4.
Oh, what games are those?
Let me pull up price charting. I do not own Bonk's Adventure,
I didn't even
which
know
is
that
the
came out
top
for the NES.
is the other top 5 that I don't own. So, in order, these are first party release Nintendo American. So I'm not counting like stadium events or like Cheetah Man or anything, Bubble Bath Babes, any of that stuff, because it was all like third party,
Yeah.
and those are just stupid expensive. So Little Samson is king. Then it goes actually, or no, Flintstones at Dino Peak is 2. Panic Restaurants 3. Power Blade 2 is 4, which I got recently. Bonk's Adventure 5. Zombie Nation 6, which I got recently. Dragon Fighter 7, which I got recently. Kid Clown, I do not own. Cowboy Kid, I own. Bubble Bobble Part 2, I do not own. So that's the second game. Gun Knack, which we literally were talking about that. Sword Master, I own. Chippendales Rescue Rangers, I got recently. Wacky Races, I do not own. Wayne's World, I do. Snow Brothers, I do. Jetsons, I do. Mighty Final Fight, I do. Fire and Ice, which I do. Swamp Thing, I own now. DuckTales 2, I own now. Princess Tomato, I do not. Die Hard, I do not. I think that's like top 20. So yeah. Like, I think part of it for me is just the enjoyment of hunting these games and
Yeah.
how long it's taken. But like the prices are just going up so fast, it's hard.
Yeah.
At this point, some of these games, it's I gotta get in at the right, like, it's never the right time at this point, but getting in comfortably enough where if the prices started falling, I wouldn't be upset
Yeah.
because I got them for cheaper.
That's the crazy thing, right? It's like, well, I hope the prices go down so you can finish your collection, but then the rest of your collection goes down in price. So it's like, well, maybe not. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, like, I think for the majority, I want prices to go down a bit for sure because they're just so high right now.
They're incredibly high.
It's very difficult to come across this stuff, and people don't wanna get rid of them because 'cause they're just like, it's just crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want a whole collection. I just, if I can get the top 20, if I can get all the top 20, I'll be happy, I think.
That'd be pretty
And then
good.
all of my
Top 20.
favorites.
Yeah.
So I think I have like 4 games that I'm looking for now.
So we get a guest coming on next week, right?
2 weeks, yes.
2 weeks, right? Next
So
episode.
we had him on before, Ryan Niemiller,
Yes.
and he chose a game,
What did he choose?
Shadowgate for the NES.
Shadowgate. Oh shit! I think I own a copy of this, but I've never played it.
I have a copy in the mail now.
Like, oh, I gotta get that. It's not an expensive game, right? It's like a $3 or $4 game.
Yeah, I think it's under 10, but I bought a complete copy.
Interesting. So this is a, well, I would say, first-person perspective, but it's really more like it page views updates. But it's a role-playing game in a very traditional sense, like almost like more of like a PC role-playing game ported over to the NES, like
Right.
way back in the day. An interesting choice.
I've never played any games like this before because they've never had any interest to me, but I'm excited to try something that I probably would never have chosen to play myself.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Similar to playing Kirby for the first time because you suggested it. It was like, all right, I've heard enough about this kind of thing. I'm excited to play it. I played games like this, but I've never played this, and I haven't played a game like this since probably the 80s.
Yeah. Well, it was big on PC back in the day, like
Yeah.
before Doom and all that.
I mean, after text-based adventures, it was pretty much this.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
the rest of the stuff happened. But this
This is
is
the
cool.
visualization. This is the visualization of the
Yeah.
text-based adventure games, I think.
Right? You're still using. I mean, you're not typing obviously because you're on an NES, but you're clicking on buttons that say look, take, touch, like that kind of thing, like your actions. Cool. That's fun. It'll be fun to have Ryan back, and it'll be fun to take a look at Shadowgate.
He
And
said
that will
he's gonna
be
play it
what, December
12th.
I'm looking at a
14th.
14th. Perfect. That should be easier to remember.
He was talking about wanting to play this on stream. He's gonna start getting back or like taking it seriously, like schedule stream and stuff. So his Twitter and Twitch is Cripple Threat 8, I believe.
It's fucking genius.
And you can see him on Twitter at Ryan Niemiller. So he's a stand-up comedian. You may have seen him on America's Got Talent a few years ago. He got 3rd place. He's hilarious
It's very
and he
funny.
loves retro video games. He's a big collector, like bigger than me. He's got more games, but I think mine's a little bit more curated for for like complete stuff, but he's got so many fucking games. It's crazy. He's like, "I want to get through all of them." I'm like, "You got to stop buying them if you're going to get through them."
Yeah. All right, I think that's gonna wrap this one up. So in 2 weeks we'll be playing some Shadowgate. Thank you all for joining us. Jay, what are you up to in the next couple of weeks? What do you got? Anything fun happening?
A week from today is the new Destiny update for the 30th anniversary, so I'll be playing that,
Right.
and then Shadowgate, which I'm excited to play, and I might play a couple of these games that I got recently, actually, because yeah, and I mean, not in the next 2 weeks, but I guess after is the Analog Pocket. So,
That's right.
and you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at JSniperton. I stream 5 nights a week during the week, late in the US. So if you're up, come hang out if you want. And yeah, what about you, Briar? What are you playing?
I just finished Demon Souls and I started playing Dark Souls 3 for the first time on a PC that broke. So I had to unfortunately box up that PC. Jay, how ridiculous is it? Like, I know it's a bad motherboard. They know it's a bad motherboard. Instead of just shipping them the motherboard and having them ship me a new motherboard, they had me package up the entire PC and ship it back to them.
I mean, they probably want to like. They have no reason not to believe you, but from somebody who's dealt with customer relations at points, sometimes customers will make up stories. So a lot
Motherboard
of
die.
times
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sometimes people tell me that something doesn't work and they want a refund. I'm like, all right, send it back. I'll give you a full refund, and then it comes back and it works just fine. I'm like,
Yeah. Motherboard
didn't.
issues can be really hard to diagnose too. Like you
Yeah.
can easily misdiagnose it. I get it.
So they want to
I
test
just,
it, but yeah,
I had
a
to send them my
honking
3090.
$100 shipping cost PC. Yeah.
Ship that thing across the country and then deal with FedEx again.
Yay.
Sad about it. All right. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Hi, everybody.